How many of you guys have ever had some sort of protein shake when working out or trying to build some muscle? Okay. Oh, wow, more than I thought. Now, who here has used steroids? Well, okay. Now, let me ask something a bit more relevant to us as students. Who here has ever had a bunch of cups of coffee or an energy drink to help stay up late to study for an exam or finish a paper? Come on, guys, don't lie. There you go. Okay. Now, who's popped a pill to do the same thing? Why did so many of you guys put your hands down when I asked about steroids or pills? Why is that the case? It's because we know that there's something not quite right there. We know that it's wrong.
I have a diagnosis.
Well, that's different, and I'm going to talk about that. You're not using it specifically for that. Now, as students, we're all bound to the same policies, and I'm sure we're against people cheating, because that's fair to no one. As an active student and someone that uses cognitive enhancers as a method to treat an educational disorder, I believe I have the credibility necessary to talk about this topic. Now, over the next 6 or 7 minutes, you guys are going to hear me talk about what cognitive enhancers are, who they're meant for, how their misuse is a problem, and what can be done to combat it. Now, what are cognitive enhancers? If it sounds a little familiar, then good, you were paying attention in my last speech. Gwin defines cognitive enhancers as stimulants that are used to treat symptoms of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. Examples of these drugs are dextroamphetamines or dexedrine, amphetamine combination drugs like Adderall, and methylphenidates like Concerta and Ritalin. I only know those chemical names because they're on the NIDA's website. Now, the symptoms sound familiar, right? Well, they should if you were paying attention to my last speech. The symptoms of inattention, hyperactivity, impulsivity. What are they? They're the symptoms of attention deficit. And that's what these drugs are meant for. They're meant to treat the symptoms of attention deficit. And that's really the only reason they're prescribed, except for occasionally to treat arrhythmia, irregular heartbeats. But that is still rare, as there's much more effective medications for that. Now, so you guys get what they are now? You guys know what they are? I can move on? Cool. So, is it a problem? Is their misuse a problem? Well, the short answer is yeah, but that's probably not enough for the purposes of this speech, so I'll continue. So, do you guys remember taking the My Student Body course we had to? Yeah. I don't know, but were you guys a little surprised to see some of the statistics in there about substance abuse? Thought they were a little higher than you thought? Well, this is no different. A study in 2006 showed that of students surveyed, 34% reported misuse of these kinds of stimulants. Now, that was 13 years ago, but rates are still pretty high. More recent studies between 2015 and 2017 still show rates between 13 and 23% among students. This is vastly higher than what the rate is in the general population. Only 2% of the general population are using these kinds of drugs, whereas among college students, it's still around 17% on average, with as high as 42% in Ivy League schools. That's crazy, guys, isn't it? To think that almost half of the students are abusing these kinds of drugs. Yeah. Why is that a problem? Why is that such a big deal? Well, first off, it promotes inequality. And to show you guys what I mean, I'm going to need some help. Jocelyn and Harrison, would you mind coming up here for a moment? So, for the purposes of this example, Harrison is a normal student. He has no mental, psychological, or emotional disorders whatsoever. And for the purposes of this example, Jocelyn has attention deficit. Now, I'd like both of you guys to go and try to reach the top of that door over there. So we see that the normal student has no trouble doing that whatsoever. All they have to do is put forth a little effort and raise their arm up to reach it. However, the one with attention deficit, it's a struggle. It's really difficult. In fact, in this case, I would say that the only way she would be able to reach it is if she were to jump. But even then, she would only be able to be as high as her peer for just a moment before she fell back down. Now, luckily, her psychiatrist has prescribed some stimulants. That's what these medications are meant for. They're meant to help people with attention deficit to perform on a level similar to their peers. Now, what happens when someone that doesn't require these medications uses them? Harrison, I would like you to take her place on that step stool. I reach as high as you can. Now look at that. Look, I don't think anyone in this room would be able to reach that. Do you? No. Yeah, and that's what happens. It gives them it gives users an unfair advantage over their peers. And what's worse is now look at the difference that is created between the two. It puts her at a disadvantage because now, even if she had the medication, even if she had a stool of her own, she would never be able to reach the same level of performance as the one that's abusing it. Okay? How is that equitable and fair, you guys? Thank you. That's it. Hey, let's give them a hand, guys. And that's what I mean. Now, if the promoting inequality didn't sway you because, life's not fair, blah, 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 well, then maybe this will. The CDC defines drug abuse as the misuse of any substance in any way that is not specifically prescribed by a medical professional. But what does that mean? Plain and simple. It means that misusing these prescription stimulants is drug abuse, and that's very serious. In fact, in many states, it's a felony. So is the misuse of these a problem? Yes. Now, what can be done about it? Well, the solution is pretty simple. The solution is to get schools to do something about it. Now, I'm not talking about them putting it in their drug abuse policy because obviously that's not working. I mean, in Ivy League schools, there's still 42% of people that are abusing these. It's clearly not working. So, what I'd like to see is for schools to include it additionally in their academic dishonesty policy. Think about it for a minute. If an athlete uses steroids or dopes, it's cheating. So an athlete using performance-enhancing drugs is cheating. So if an academic uses cognitive-enhancing drugs, shouldn't that be cheating as well? Makes sense to me. I would like to see it in the academic dishonesty policy because there are many students using these as a study aid that don't realize that they're harming their peers. Whereas, I don't know about you, but if I read it in my academic dishonesty policy, which I know we've all read, yeah, if I read it in there that, if I take this pill, I could get kicked out of school. If I misuse this, I could get kicked out of school. I don't know about you guys, but for me, that would act as a pretty strong deterrent. And psychology shows that the mere presence of a deterrent reduces the number of violations, which is why I've created a petition to the IUPOI Policy Advisory Council to try to get this changed. I've actually already have enough signatures to go public with this on change.org. So if you support this and agree that the abuse of these drugs should be considered cheating, sign the petition and show your support. And if you really believe in it strongly, then take it one step further and share it. I'm not trying to get these substances banned outright. There are some people that rely on them to function at a normal level, myself included. What I'm trying to get is for people to stop using these to get a leg up. You guys know what cognitive enhancers are now. You know who they're meant for, but more importantly, who they're not meant for. You know how their misuse is a problem and what we can do about it. So let's do something about this and get this changed to make a more fair learning environment for everyone. And seriously, everything aside, even if you don't agree with this, if you know someone that's abusing these medications, help them to get help. Thank you.